Hello, welcome back. My name is Julian Lee, and this week we're looking at internships. Internships are a form of will or work integrated learning. So work integrated learning is different to classroom learning, which is thought to be kind of more academic and intellectual and theoretical. Whereas work integrated learning is situated in industry or community or with organizations in such a way as you learn through the experience of doing that with the organization or the business. And will is a required component of many degrees at RMIT University. So for some degrees it is an option, whereas for others it is a required component that you need to complete in order to get your degree. And this stems in part from the ethos of RMIT University, which has as its motto a cultivated mind, a skilled hand and a cultivated mind. So the skilled hand referring to that practical engaged element, and the cultivated mind, the theoretical and academic components of everything that you're learning while you're here. So internships are regarded as increasingly important for a number of reasons. So obviously your degree is very important and you want to do as well in it as you humanly can. But the inclusion of an internship is really a boost to your job application prospects, because it enables you to talk about your workplace experience and you'll be able to draw on that to a large extent in your job applications, in addition to everything that you'll be saying that you learned in your degree. You also develop complementary, that is different kinds of learning whilst you're doing your internship. And these are not just like theoretical academic learnings, but embodied situational learning that you get as a result of being in that whole new context, which is the internship destination that you would be ending up when you do your internship. As we'll hear from a student in a few minutes' time, internships are great ways to cultivate your networks and contacts. And in this course, you've obviously learned a lot about how and why that's important, or you'll be learning about that soon. And it enables you to engage in professional exploration as well. So we talked about the concept of match quality, or the goodness of fit between you and a particular area of work or vocation. And internships are really, one of the key ways in which you can start exploring things that may fit you in terms of your career trajectory. So internships shouldn't be just about doing the work. There's a bit more to it than that. So, what is will actually? Will is a learning activity where you use your academic learning in a real life situation with real industry or a community partner. So here there is everything that you've learned, and then you bring it into the context of the internship or the industry, quote unquote, or community group that you're working with. And here, a central concept for will is praxis, the synthesis of theory, which you've been learning in the quote-unquote classroom, with practice, which you're undertaking in the workplace scenario with your internship. And so this praxis is the bringing together of these two things without presuming the primacy of either. So recognizing the importance of both of these things together. So practice really differentiates will from just experience of work. So workplace literacy is a concept that was mentioned to me when I was speaking to a student who had finished their degree, and they were saying, one of the things that I think is really needs to be given more attention is workplace literacy, which for him was, and he was now working for one of the big consulting firms, which for him was the notion that you need to know how to basically behave in a workplace context. Because a lot of students would be finishing their degree without any workplace experience, and just the general normal kinds of behavior that you would expect from a colleague are just not been fostered yet. So this needs to be given some attention. So internships really enable this to be developed. And as a general rule, a difference between an intern and a longer-term colleague is that workplace colleagues have reasonable expectations of what to expect from student interns. So they're keen to develop their skills and give them a good experience while being reasonable and not having unreasonable expectations of what to expect of the intern. So it's kind of in that sense like a safe space to transition between university and and work, and people kind of will treat interns differently in a way that is beneficial to the intern. And a formerly employed colleague is usually the subject of considerable investments by the organization because they need to be onboarded properly, introduced to the, I don't know, various policy constraints that they're working within. And interns are not long enough there to warrant having so much attention paid in this respect. And so and so many organizations realize that having an intern on the one hand is useful because they make real work contributions, but it also is a considerable investment of time and energy by the organization. And so it's not just the case that the interns are simply doing work, but they're being inducted and introduced and given a taste test and insight into the workplace culture in a way that's beneficial for the intern. And it's really great that a lot of organizations are able to take this perspective and take in interns for the various kinds of good that achieves for the organization and for society. So how to undertake an internship. Let's talk some practicalities. Some degrees have internships baked into the degree structure. For example, social work and international studies. I'm most familiar with international studies, and so in the degree there is a course which is a 24 credit point course called Global Internship. For those who are doing international studies, this course can be done basically any time after you complete the course Global Careers. So it could be done, much further on in third year, or as the last thing that you ever do, or indeed it could be done over, the coming weeks or months, essentially. Whereas other degrees have it as an option. I think business have the internship as an option, or at least for some of the degrees. And there is, for example, this course which is a business internship elective. And students in any degree can do this elective. You don't have to be a business student. And in fact, students in international studies have done this. So they've done 2 internships, one as part of their global internship, and they've also done this as an elective as well. So they've done 2 internships, and that could be an option that you might wish to consider. Or, of course, you can do an internship completely separately from university, just you in your own time, doing an internship, nothing to do with the university. So these are a couple of ways that you can be doing an internship as part of your degree. So one question you could be considering is how to source an internship, and I know some people would appreciate guidance on this front. So one place you can start is here, so this website will be easy enough to web search yourself, or grab the website there. This is a general website for all students in the university with respect to, I guess, what internships are, what work experience, and what WIL is. And I guess you might just want to sort of look at these resources. In particular, you might want to focus on the bottom of the screen where it says, where can I find an internship and work experience opportunities? And there are various ways in which you can find internship opportunities. I'm going to talk to some of those in a moment. These will enable you to learn about some of the advertised internship opportunities that exist in the world. So check out this page and check out those links when you're ready. So how to source an internship? There are 4 ways that I'll list. So one is basically through the front door. So responding to an advertised internship position. So you can find out about these by visiting job sites, such as any number of them, including the ones that were listed in the previous page. You do your own web search for internship vacancies, and that will bring up a number. And of course, you can refine that web search into areas of specific interest to you. Individually visit the organization's pages, because a lot of organizations will advertise on their website, but you won't be able to web search your way to those opportunities very easily. So yeah, it's worth looking at the organizations you're interested in and looking at their vacancies position. And yeah, look at the previous slide at the bottom there, and check your emails as well, as these we're going to hear from a student in a few minutes time, and that's one of their key points. 2, you can pitch yourself to an organization. I'll talk about that in a minute. Use your connections. I'll mention that again in a minute. And go through a provider, which I'll talk about in a minute. Right, so let's go to pitching yourself to an organization. So yeah, there will be internship positions that are advertised either as like a one-off thing or as part of an ongoing internship recruitment opportunity for particularly larger organizations. But you don't have to wait. You can create your internship by pitching yourself to an organization. And loads of students that I know who have sought internships have successfully acquired their internship through this method. So definitely don't just go, well, I can't find an internship that's being advertised that I like. What you should be doing is actively approaching organizations that you like the look of. So yeah, so find out the organizations that you think would be interesting. Don't just go for the big name organizations either. The big name organizations often have more formal processes for advertising for interns, whereas there are many smaller or other hidden gems where they will not advertise for an internship. And I do know of organizations who say, yeah, we don't advertise for interns because we get enough students just writing to us and we just take them that way. So yeah, so those are internships that are not advertised but are definitely available to you. So you know, you research the organization and find out. So if there is an organization that you're interested in interning at, you will want to obviously and in pitching yourself to them, you want to pitch yourself and your relevance to the organization in a way that means that they realize that you're a serious person and that you would be useful. So how do you know what the organization is doing so that you can craft an effective pitch? So I would be saying, you know, find, if you can, their annual reports. So after every year, organizations are often obliged to create an annual report that explains what they've been doing, and you can get a lot of insight into what's of interest to the organization through them. Look at their LinkedIn posts and, you know, other social media, and then frame your pitch around that. And even if the project that is in the annual report or whatever is no longer like a thing for them, it shows that you're really engaged and serious individual. So research the organization. And yeah, I would be saying, yeah, so it's important to obviously ask for an internship, but don't just ask for an internship. You want to kind of give them a sense of what you would be able to bring to the table as an intern. Doing this is really helpful because it enables the person who receives your email or your letter to imagine what they could get you to do. So if they just receive an internship request, and I go, well, I'm not really sure what we get you to do. So, you know, no, we don't really have a vacancy. But if you say, oh, I've really given some consideration to, social media ethics or, I don't know, researching in a particular field relating to migration or something like that. And they'll go, oh yeah, actually, no. So we are an organization that works with refugees and asylum seekers, and we would really appreciate a bit of research around. And then so giving them something to kind of collect their thoughts around with respect to will enable them to give you a more fulfilling internship position, and it will give them a clear view as to what they could ask you to do as well. And then yes, thirdly, as I was mentioning before, you want to think of your connections, both your family and your friends' connections, and see who's working for an organization that's potentially interesting, or even just letting people know, and then say, oh yeah, I know, you might want to ask my uncle or something like that, and so working your connections in that way can really lead to some positive outcomes too. And just on that, I mean, one story that I remember is a guy who used to work and might still work for Crocs, the footwear company, and just like a retail front of house role. And then he used this internship opportunity as part of his degree to do other kinds of work in more central part of the organization. And he had a fantastic internship, and they sent him to Singapore a couple of times and everything. So yeah, there may be like existing employment that you've got or volunteering, and then you can speak to someone there to ask, how can I craft an internship around with your organization? That would be cool. Yeah, and when you pitch yourself to an organization, as I may have said before, I would try not to overstate what's in it for you, or that you just need to do it to pass your degree or something like that. Really, and try to frame yourself as someone who will bring something useful to the table for them. Of course, they want to know kind of what's in it for you, and but don't make it be about it would be really great for me, and I really want this experience, and because that's really about you. They are going to be spending time with you, asking you to do stuff, and and that's time that relatively senior people in the organization could be spending doing other things, and so these people want to know that their time is going to result in something positive for the organization as well. So naturally say why it's important to you, but don't just make it all about you. The other thing to consider is going through a provider. So this is another fantastic pathway to an internship. And a lot of these opportunities that are provided through providers, and I've listed some of the ones that students of ours have done internships with and have had good experiences here on the page here. A lot of these, by no means all, but a lot of these have New Colombo Plan funding for students who are eligible, and so therefore that really makes it very affordable and very accessible. And often as well, there are more opportunities provided by these organizations than there are students applying for them. So therefore, if you're interested to have like a bit more of a enabled for you experience, these providers can really make life a lot easier in terms of finding a path to an internship. They have contacts with organizations in parts of the world that would be difficult for you to navigate or potentially, and they can make some of the process a lot easier. These are really great as either first options, or even if as a fallback option as well, if it's getting too hard, or you just you feel as if you need a bit more of assistance with finding an internship. These providers are a good way to source an internship, and as I said before, there's often more positions than there are students applying for them, which obviously works really well for the student. And just as an example here, these are listed on Mobi, which I'll talk about in a second. And so the global student, there are some opportunities for internships through them. These ones are based in Malaysia mostly, and if you go to RMIT Mobi, and I'll talk about that in a second, you'll find that you can access these internship opportunities with New Colombo Plan funding through there. Yeah, and so a great place to check out, a lot of things, not just with respect to internships, but there's internship stuff here, is through RMIT's Mobi site or platform. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to flip to another thing I recorded a few minutes ago, and then which talks you through how to get to Mobi, and then I'll be back in a second. All right. So you want to check out RMIT's Mobi site. So what you do is you type RMIT Mobi into there, you click on the first link, brilliant, and all these are great to look at, so you should definitely take some time to look at them. Before I click on the thing which I'll click on, I'll just point out that here you can get some information about financial assistance for the activity that you want to undertake. So, but for searching for internships here, you click Global Experiences, and then I would just click Simple Search, and just type here internship or internships, and then you'll see all these listings which you can go through and see which ones may be of interest or relevance to you. Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Julian from the past. Thanks for telling us about Moby. Right now, I want to introduce you now to Erin. Erin is a student who finished her internship recently, and she's going to talk to you about her 3 tips, which include relating to like how to find an internship, and she just adds some points to something I mentioned earlier, and then she's going to say a couple of words about how to make the most of your internship experience. So thank you, Erin.
Hey everyone, I'm Erin. I'm in my final semester of the Bachelor of International Studies, and Julian's asked me to just send through a quick video talking about my internship experience and tips or tricks I wish I would have known before completing the subject. So, just for some context, I completed my internship in the second semester of 2021, and I completed it at EndoHelp Foundation, which is a foundation advocating for and supporting people with endometriosis. So I just have 3 talking points today. The first is to check your emails. So we were in the middle of lockdown during my internship subject. My friends and I were all a little worried about what was available to us. I feel like if you're in a similar position or you just don't really know what's out there, a good place to start is through your RMIT emails. So we're quite lucky that the program coordinators are always emailing us with possible opportunities, including internships. So if you're a little apprehensive or unsure of what's out there, I would definitely recommend going through that email. My second point is networking. I feel like once you've entered your internship, it's helpful to always have in the back of your mind what networking opportunities are available for you that day. So whether that be in the office itself with the people that you're working for or potential meetings with external stakeholders, it's always good to be in the mindset of, oh, I could make a connection here. And this could possibly help me in the future. It could help you with more internships or job prospects, or even just learning more about a potential industry that you're interested in. So, for example, during my internship, I had a meeting with a policy officer, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure what that is, but I'm like wondering if that would be for me. So I messaged them on LinkedIn, asked like, hey, can I like kind of pick your brain about how you got into this role and what it entails? And that was really helpful in helping me decide, kind of narrowing down the careers that I would be interested in the future. So I definitely recommend just keeping in the back of your mind that everyone you meet is potentially someone to open another door for you. My third point is showing initiative. So I feel like this was specifically important for me during my internship, as again, it was in the middle of lockdown and I was kind of doing it from my room and there wasn't really much work going on in the foundation. Initially, I was in a marketing and communications role, but in meetings, I kind of like felt the vibes that there I could have been more useful in other areas of the foundation. So I volunteered and said, hey, I'd be super interested to learn more about the advocacy space if you need more help in that. And they loved that I volunteered for extra work. And then in the future, I would just be CC'd in emails or shot an email from my supervisor being like, hey, I feel like you like might be interested in doing this. So yeah, my final tip of advice would be to volunteer for everything you can, and once you show enthusiasm and excitement, your supervisor may be more, may have you back in their mind more when opportunities do come up. Good luck, everyone.
Cool, thanks, Erin. So do bear those insights in mind about how to find an internship and how to make the most of that opportunity. So one question you might want to think about is funding for your internship. So funding for internships, to the best of my knowledge, often revolves around internships that are taken overseas. So you might wish to check out, in any case, the Moby site, which I mentioned just before, and then this page with respect to financial assistance for activities that are overseas, including internships and other WIL types of experience. and these include various forms of grants, New Colombo Plan funding, and one of the things to point out in particular is this thing called OS Help, which eligible students can receive a certain amount of funding, which I think goes onto your HECS. There are certain rules around OS Help funding. Two of the rules that I think are worth pointing out is that in order to receive OS Help, you need to be enrolled in the relevant time frame in 36 credit points, and you also need to have one course to come back and do after your overseas experience. So whatever the overseas experience or internship is, that can't be the last thing you ever do overseas. You need to have one course to come back to be eligible for this OS Help funding. So yeah, check it out. Another thing to also just be aware of, and I know students a number of students who've been awarded this scholarship, this Story Scholarship, check it out and look at the relevant application deadlines, which look to be in September and May. Good luck with applying for that if you do so. Timing and enrollment of your internship. So this is a bit of a tricky one, so I'll try and be as clear about it as I can. So like, how far in advance do I need to start applying for internships, like before I want to be doing it, or in terms of the semester? And the thing is, it's not really very easy to answer. So the timing between contacting an organization or applying and the start date can vary hugely. So I just remember a recent case where the student reached out and then they were like, yeah, okay, great. Can you start ASAP? So that's obviously a very quick turnaround. And other ones obviously take a long amount of time. So advertised internships will usually have a date by which you need to apply, and then they'll have a date when they're kind of expecting you to start. And that's often negotiable. So advertised internships kind of have that time frame sort of baked into them. But sometimes organizations want you to start ASAP, or others are kind of happy to pre-book you months in advance. And MOBI applications usually need to be sort of thought about months in advance. Therefore, I think probably it's, let's say you were wanting to do your internship in semester, 1 next year, I would probably begin to start making my plans, relatively soon. I would even start looking around now and doing another round of looking around in a few weeks' time. If you're wanting to do an internship in the coming semester, semester 2, then definitely you want to get started now. And because for some students, they're just lucky and they get an internship really quickly. Other students, it can take a long time, it can take a long time, and so therefore you do kind of want to get started on the sooner side. At least for internships in international studies, I can't be sure about other parts of the university. In order to start your internship, you need to be properly. There's a bunch of paperwork that you need to do between RMIT on the organization, and you need to enroll in the right course in the right semester and so on. And you need to allow 4 weeks between acquiring the paperwork from the organization that you send them. It's RMIT paperwork. So you've got to get that paperwork sent there, and then you've got to get it back and then give it to the RMIT side. And from that point is 4 weeks. So there's however much time it takes you to apply for the internship position and acquire it and agree on the time that you want to start and so on. There's all that, but then from the point of giving the paperwork back to RMIT, you need about 4 weeks. And in terms of when your internship should start, the basic answer is, whenever it's convenient for you and the organization. And so you work that out, with each other, and then you come back to RMIT to find out how to enroll in the internship course, in the way that's most appropriate for those dates. And for those in international studies, global careers is the prereq to doing the internship. So you could definitely be starting your hunt now, anytime now. Or you can put it off a little bit if you want to do your internship next year. Yeah, we get questions sometimes about how does the class work. So to do your internship, we have a class, right? So for international studies, for example, it's the global internship class. I really don't know how the business internship class runs, so I can't really speak to that. But for global internship, there aren't really classes. So you enroll in the course, global internship, but there's not like a weekly class that goes along with it, as is the case with your non-will courses, such as the one you're doing now. So your internship needs to be in total 35 days in duration, and this is calculated, if you like, as 35 days of each day being 7.2 hours, therefore a total of 252 hours. So you might want to think about it in terms of hours, because it would include maybe some half days and so on. So it's like a total of 252 hours of interning. And the course Global Internship enables you to gain university credit for the internship activity and so contribute to your degree. So the course needs to exist in order for you to be credited with the internship experience. So I mean, one of the nice things about doing the internship as part of RMIT is that there are a lot of systems and resources that go along with it. There are some insurances that occur. If you're doing it overseas, if there's like a super emergency taking place in that country, there is a subscription that I think RMIT has that enables us to help you out a bit. Academic support and guidance throughout your internship. So sometimes students encounter, I guess, either problems or situations where it's like, oh, this is a really cool opportunity. How can I think through this, or and so on. So there's that academic support and guidance. There's a bunch of administrative support as well. There are some micro creds, part of RMIT University that you have access to. And the assessments and readings that are part of those courses are really intended to enable you to make the most of that experiences. So it's not just work experience, as I said before, it's that praxis thing. And the course is intended to really make you help you get the most out of it. And for our course, Global Internship, this year we've introduced these master classes. So these are kind of like tutorials, but they're not on the topic of the week. These are skills master classes. And so one of the concepts that we talked about in one of these master classes, so one was on diversity and inclusion, and another one this year was on internship crafting, like how do you actually make the most of the internship opportunity whilst you're there, and so it's really about how to be proactive. Yeah, so to conclude, your internship is an important and exciting part of your career journey. It really enables self-discovery, building networks, and gaining that experience, which is great in general, but also great for you to be able to talk to in your job applications and CV. And you'll be drawing on that internship experience a lot when you apply for roles after university. I've seen people's CVs and cover letters, and that internship experience really takes up a big chunk of space, both on the CV and the cover letter, and also in the discussion of their experience and their relevance to the role that they're applying to. So it really is such a big, important part of your university experience. Treat your internship hunt like a job hunt. It is a rehearsal for that experience. You seek an internship that speaks to you and your aspirations, but endeavor to also be open about what your aspirations are. There's plenty of students who've done an internship, and at the time maybe they thought, I'll just do this internship even though it's not quite what I was looking for, and then they've loved it, and really it's opened up a whole set of a whole vista of the professional world where they can now explore for a fulfilling career. And if you're having sustained difficulty in securing an internship, look at the options in Mobi, ask help from a member of staff in your degree, or contact RMIT's job shop. And there's really a bunch of options that really help us, can help all of us to get an internship if maybe we're sort of finding that the internship seeking experience a little bit difficult. Right, so that's it for me, and thank you. Look forward to seeing you all in class. All right. Take care. Bye.